This is the ABQ Business Podcast
with your host, Jason Rigby.
Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit
That's in every entrepreneur.
discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
What is up, guys? My mouth is a little sore. How many of you have gone to the dentist? We all love the dentist. If you're a dentist and you're listening to this, love to be able to talk to you about digital marketing. There's some amazing things that you can do, and I know you guys are getting hit on all the time, but I have some good people that can talk to you about that. I think one of the biggest things that I see, especially when it comes to chiropractors, dentists, yoga studios, the list goes on and on. For someone that tattoo artists, that's a big one too. Anytime that you're taking your specialties and you're selling it to someone else, the brand isn't there. The dentist doesn't become the brand. The ability to be able to look online and clearly see, why is this dentist office different than every other dentist office? You know, and these are questions that you need to ask. And this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm really, really excited. My jaw is hurting. I ended up having an infection in my mouth, and they were going to do a root canal, and then I ended up having to get the tooth pulled because the infection was so bad. So I probably would not be pronouncing my words. I have a hard enough time. You guys know that. But this time it's even worse because of this. But I wanted to get this podcast because I read this amazing article, and it's on scalable.co. That's SCALABLE.co. Great website. They have amazing newsletter. I encourage you to sign up for it. They're not a sponsor or anything like that. This is a huge company. One of the great marketeers out there, Ryan Dice, is the CEO of this company. He was CEO of another company, and then he moved over to this one. And I think he started this company, and they just have a lot of great information. Well, they wrote a blog post, and I'll put it in the show notes so you guys can get it. It's called 6 Reasons Your Company Isn't Growing as Fast as It Could and Why Companies Fail. I want to focus on the 6 reasons your company isn't growing as fast as it could. And he gets into relative gain, the scalable flywheel, and then the math behind all of it, like what got you here won't get you there. So I think there's a lot of companies, especially now with everything that's going on, you guys are pivoting, you're moving in a different direction, you're having to deal with COVID and employees and fatigue. And this article is going to help you. It's going to cause you, I hope, to get a different shift, a different perspective, and tell yourself, hey, this is what I need to do. This is where I need to go. And this is how we're going to do it. And it just, I just want to take business owners that are out there, or if you're looking at this, you can take all of this and put this into your personal life, mentally, spiritually, physically. We always talk about that. It just helps you gain self-awareness. And I think that right there alone is 10x on anything that you do in your life. So let's get into this, how to build a scalable company. One of the questions that he asked is, you know, if you're 5 years old, are you more excited about your birthday than when you're 55? Well, 5 years old is a big deal. I mean, if you look at turning 55 compared to turning 5 or even 25, it's just math, you know. When you're 4 or 5, going from 4 to 5, you're 20% older. When you're going from 54 to 55, you're 2% older. And it's the absolutely same thing when you look at magnitude, when you look at difference, when you look at your company and trying to shift and move. It's harder to take a little small ship, a little Zodiac. We used to have those in the military and the Marine Corps. Those little Zodiacs are easy to move. You can move her all around, inflatable boat. But when you look at taking something as huge as a cruise ship or one of these huge barges, it is a feat to turn that thing. And it's the same way. If you've had a company, you have systems in place, you've been doing something for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years, this is something that you have to look at. And it's going to require a lot more effort and consistency on your part to change it, compared to if you just have a young company and 5, 6 employees and you guys are just trying to survive. So what is relative gain, he says, and why does it matter? And he gives this insight, like when you first launch a new website, you're going to have 100 visitors, and that becomes a huge deal. It's like, oh my God. And then a year later, you have 10,000 visitors. So those 100 visitors don't even hardly rank on your Google Analytics or anything. But It's the same as leads. If you've gotten 10 leads a month on your website, and guys, if you're not getting leads from your website every single day, you've got a problem from your website. You should have clear call to actions. You should have a story, and you should have a funnel that leads people to either give you a call, submit their email address, submit a way for them to text, and you can text back to them. You have to generate leads online and then have somebody that's capable and somebody that is able to answer the lead quickly and properly to set that appointment. I'm telling you guys, most people just dish this off to their secretaries or somebody, and they don't take leads that serious. You can, just by getting your website to generate leads daily, just by having somebody that answer it, incentivize. Guys, say, okay, for every appointment you make is $2, keep track of all these from the website. Every appointment you make is 5, 10, however much you want to incentivize it, and have them keep track in a log, have them print it out or whatever. And then at the end of their 2 weeks, they can say, oh, okay, I did 20, I got 20 appointments from the website, and here's the proof. You got to treat leads serious. It will increase your business dramatically. Whether you have an online business, whether you have, like I said, if you're a dentist and you could get 1, 2, 3 appointments every day extra, just by making your website where it funnels down to get a lead. Come on, guys. Think about that. What is that worth to you? What's the ROI of every appointment for a dentist? Is it $500? Is it $1,000? Is getting a new client and having them happy with you, is that worth $2,000? I don't know. But you need that appointment. We all need appointments to our business, especially now. It's so important. Leads are now more important than they ever have been. People are going online. They're looking first on your website, then they want to inquire from the safety of their home. They want to be able to talk to somebody. After they talk to somebody, then they may decide to put their mask on and make the trouble to come to your business. So you need your online presence, has to be better than ever. If you have any questions, you want me to consult with that, I'd be more than happy to do that. You can go on my website, abqpodcast.com. That's abqpodcast.com, and click on there. I have a separate consulting thing, and I'd love to go into your business. I could help you. We could look at a couple things, do some interviews with some of your key players, and kind of get you a little game plan together to decide exactly what you need to do to move in this direction in 2020. But let's move on. Leads are important. We know that. But it can easily be the same thing. Maybe you're getting, 5, 10 leads a day, and you used to get 1 lead a day, and now it's just kind of stagnated, or maybe it's at 3 or 4, and you're not really looking at it as a big deal. And we all know this. We all have a playbook, and he talks about this. Your playbook didn't stop working. It just stopped working at the same relative gain. So some of you guys will completely shift or make a whole new playbook when your playbook is fine. It just needs to be amped up. I tell people this. If the ROI on your Google ads is $30, let's say, and you're getting 300, then bump it up to $300 for Google ads and get the 3,000 back. That's why it's so important to track all this, to understand, to know, to get exactly, to have call tracking numbers, to get exactly where you know if that playbook that you've put out there is working or not. And then now does it need to be shifted because it's not at the relative gain that it was when you were in the beginning. He says the faster we grow, the more difficult it becomes to top our previous wins. It's just math, guys. And then he said, how do you pinpoint exactly where our relative gains are in decline? How do you pinpoint where our relative gains are in decline? Since the previous playbook is no longer yielding the same results, then we have to take steps to optimize it. We have to figure out how can we optimize the parts that aren't working in our playbook. And you guys should know that. You should be able to look at that. And so he gets into, and you may say, well, Jason, I'm kind of confused. I don't know where you're at. Well, this is beautiful. Not only can you, like I said, get this article, but you can also, we're going to get into it right now, the 6 scale constraints. So we look at constraints. First one, unclear, uninspiring, or misaligned vision. And we'll get into these, how we can scale them and optimize them. But I'm going to say all 6 first, and then we'll get into each one. Unclear, uninspiring, and misaligned vision. Number 2, failing to choose or failing to execute upon the right strategy. Usually this is the wrong growth strategy, but it could also be the wrong product or positioning strategy. We're going to get into that heavy. Number 3, not having the right people on the team or having the right people in the wrong roles. Number 4, unclear or inconsistent communication. Number 5, this one's I'm big on, guys, a lack of documented system and processes. When you were winging it before, that was fine, but now you've got to reproduce yourself and reproduce those employees that are around you. A lack of documented, get that word, documented system and processes. Number 6, mismanagement of money and cash flow. So let's look at each of these scale factors and see how we can fix our playbook and get back on track and scale this up to get profitable again, to get our business to grow again. Scale factor number 1, vision. Vision is this part that brings traction and momentum to who you are as an organization. The vision underlies that whole premise of what your culture is. And I know in the beginning, and he talks about this, there's this transition from the traction phase into the momentum and expansion phases. Sorry, like I said, I had work done on my teeth, so I probably shouldn't be doing a podcast. Huh? Oh, well, let's move on. The scarcity-minded vision will hold you back. In other words, the vision that got you here won't be enough to get you there. So he said there's these certain questions that you need to ask yourself and your team to uncover a new scalable vision. You guys know I'm big on getting your team together and asking them questions and then letting them together answer it. It's one of the most powerful things you can do as a leader. Get your team together. This happens all the time in the military. This happens at high elite. Anytime there's decisions that be made, great CEOs, great leaders will get in the room, the smartest people of their organization, get them in a room and ask them questions of how to overcome this. And then from there, they can take all that information and then make the decision that they need to move and however they need to move, to pivot, to go in that direction that they believe as a leader should go. But they're always going to get the backing of their people because they're going to see that the credit came from all of them together, working together as a team. Here's the questions. These are going to sound stupid and simple, but you need to analyze these. You need to sit down and go over these, not just by yourself, but with your team, because shit changes, guys. Shit changes over time, whether you've been in 6 months from now, your business is going to be different. 2 years from now, your business will be totally different. So you've got to shift your vision and make it clear to everyone. Who are we? Who are we? Answer that. Who are we? Together as a business, who are we? Number 2, what do we do? Well, we used to do this. When we first started out, we were always doing this, but now we're doing this. Well, okay. So you need to define what do we do. You still have people that still thinking you're doing this. I see so many business leaders that will change their mind, let 1 or 2 people know, and they're moving this direction. They expect everybody else to know. They've never clearly articulated to anyone. Number 3, who do we serve? Who do we serve? Who do we serve? What does that person look like? What is the avatar of that person? Where do they do? What do they go? What are their hobbies? You need to dissect who do we serve. You need to know that person, whether it's Jim and Susan and they're a couple in their late 30s and they have 2 dogs and no kids and they both work, and Jim is, an entrepreneur, and the list goes on and on. You can do this. You can write it all out, and then you say these are the people that we serve. Specifically, these are. Where are we going? You know how many business leaders I've asked about their company? I ask them, where are they going? And they're like, well, we just need to make money. I'm like, no, where are you going? Where are you going? You've got to know where you're going, guys. You can't just wing this every day. But that's what happens, isn't it? We get so caught up in working in the business and not on the business that we just show up day after day after day, and we never take the time to answer these vision questions and let our employees know where we're going. Next, how should we behave along the way? What are we supposed to do? Is it time to be crazy and take risks? Or is it time to be ultra safe and not expect a lot of growth the next 6 months, a year, but this is how we're going to survive and this is what we're going to do, and everybody's salaries will be safe, and this is what I expect out of you? Are you the type of business where you're like, I'm going to take advantage of this situation because we know who we are, we know what we do, we know who we serve, and we know where the fuck we're going. So guess what? I know how to behave now. You see how these questions answer each other? And it brings ultra clarity. I did a whole podcast on being clear. for 2020. People need clarity now. The news is fucking it up. The news doesn't know what the hell's going on. You can go on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, whichever your flavor of the day choice is, or whatever political leaning you are. It's all garbage. It's all there for you to watch commercials. It's all marketing. All of it, guys. All of it is not to be clear. And then it wants to feed you these little heroin shots to feed your political leanings, and gives you no idea of the real news. The real news should aggravate you sometime. The real news should be different than what you think. The real news should challenge you. The real news should say, yeah, you were right on this one, but the actuality, here's the truth, and maybe you were wrong on this. The real news is not biased, guys. Why do we like all of our, and this is what I get so fearful of leaders when they get such in this little tiny compartmentalized box. Have you ever seen those clear presentation box, like when you get an Apple phone or whatever, and they're so pretty and smooth and nice? And you should be doing that, guys. You should be paying, if you're selling a product, you should be having nice presentation like that. People expect that now. Pay a little bit extra money, a couple dollars more, and buy those boxes and make your product look nice. If you have a product that goes in a box, or if you have something that you can give that you can put in a box, it's amazing what the attitude of people can change just off of a couple dollar box compared to putting it in a bag or whatever. So look at not being biased. Look at the ability to say what got us here is not going to get us there. And this is the way we're going. And this is the direction we're at. And we're not going to listen to any of the bullshit that's around us. I'm bringing clarity. I'm not falling into the traps of social media. I'm not falling into the traps of the news media. I'm not falling into the traps of everybody being fearful and scared. I'm the leader. I'm bringing clarity. Here's the vision. Let's roll. You just feel that. You know what I mean? People just feel that. And then they can come to work or work at home where they're at, and you're just piping out vision all the fucking time. And guess what happens, guys? They're going to feel it. They're going to know it. And they're going to be like, this is the person I want on my side. This is who I know that in all of my life, this person has my back. They are my leader. They are my rock. This is the direction that we're going. That's vision, guys. Pump your vision to your employees till they get sick. You think you're putting too much vision? I guarantee you're not putting enough. If you're not doing it every day, and then every time you talk to somebody, every interaction you have with an employee, you should leave them with some vision and how they can help you fulfill that, and what they're doing to fulfill the vision, and how much of an impact they are for the vision of the company. You've got to articulate that to your employees. Okay, number 2, I got to move on. I can talk about this stuff all day long, and I don't want my jaw to fall off. Scale factor number 2 is strategy. So strategy is what? Well, he gets in here and talks about conversion rates and velocity rates and all that, but I kind of want to get into a little bit about scalable strategy, and then kind of more esoteric, generic, than getting into conversion rates and stuff like that. So let me break it down for this. He asked some scalable strategy questions to uncover some newness that you're overlooking in your business and help you gain that direction. So first question, what goals must we achieve in the given period to fulfill our mission? What goals must we achieve in the given period to fulfill our mission? Here's the vision. Here's our mission. Here's the time frame. Now we need to say, what goals are we going to complete along the way? You have checkpoints in everything you do. There's a reason for that. If you're going to climb, are you going to hike? You always want to look to those signs, and you're like, yes, okay, I have 2 miles left. I have 4 miles. It's important to know exactly as you're moving in that direction that there's that one, that it's realistic, it's scalable. Number 2, that everyone on the team is being able to hike this hike, and that you're not leaving anybody behind. And number 3, what's most important is that you as the leader are notifying them where they're at, how they're performing. That's why coaching, guys, is so important. What goals must we achieve in the given period to fulfill our mission? Next, what critical projects must be completed, and when do they need to be completed by? What critical projects must be completed, And when do they need to be completed by? You've got to have a timeline, guys. Got to have a timeline. Put the critical projects out there. You guys know about my 12-week book. I'm fascinated with that book. I'm trying to get the author on. I love that book. The 12-week year. If you have not bought that book, you need to buy it right now. Next, what resources, skills, and assets must we acquire? So what resources do we need? Do we need 2 new computers? Do we need to do some online courses for these 2 skills? And then assets. What do we need to acquire to complete this? Maybe it's just a shift of personnel into different positions, or maybe they need to take on a little bit more, or maybe you need to have people work at home and they can schedule different schedules so that you have people working at night, people working in the afternoon, people working in the morning. So now you have this 18 hours of people working, one person working each on this. Very, very simple to do, guys, but most people don't take the time, like I said, to work on the business, not in the business. Next, scale factor number 3 is people. We can look at, and he uses a prime example. He says this, our old marketing strategy just isn't cutting it anymore. He says it's a different thing entirely to say our director of marketing just isn't cutting anymore. It's people. He says that they have feelings, they have hopes, they have families. People are complicated. But people issues, guys, is one of the most important things that you can handle, because he even talks about, he fired himself from his first company that he started because he knew he was able to start the company, scale it, and work it up. And it was at a point to where he, as a CEO, he was hindering it. There's a lot of founders that have done that. They've gotten out of the way because they knew that next level, to get to that next level, they're the founder type people. They like to start the new thing. But as it gets very strategic, as there's systems that need to get built and in process, usually those entrepreneurial type founder people can't handle that. So it's time to go start something else, to do something new. And that's what he's done. And he says, I don't want you to live that same failure. So here are some questions to help you determine if your team and team structure is truly scalable. First, do we have all the help we need, or are we missing roles? So I'm not talking about fat rolls or cinnamon rolls. Love all of that. I'm talking about missing roles. Do you have a role that you need? Maybe you don't need to hire another person. Maybe you need to change the role of somebody that's in your organization. Next, who is responsible for what, and do they know it? Do they know what they're really responsible for? Have you gone and when you coach somebody, brought them in and said, here's a new job description, here's some responsibilities I want you to take over, and here's how we're going to do that together? Who is allowed to tell other people what to do? There's some people in your organization that think they're the ones, but who is allowed to tell other people what to do? I did this the other day. I had to have a meeting and sit everybody down and say, this person is the only 2 people that you're going to listen to. These 2 people, if I'm not here, you listen to these 2 people. And sometimes you have to make that decision. Who is allowed to tell the people what to do? Next, how do we deal with conflict? How do you deal with conflict? Do you run and hide? Do you get the flight or fight? Or do you need, as a leader, to be able to work on some conflict resolution in your life? Do you need to understand and not take it personal? There's a lot of books on this, guys. If you're one of those people that's extremely emotional and take everything personal, there's so many critical conversations. One of my favorite books, again, buy the book right now and read it. It will revolutionize the way that you handle conflict. They have a bunch of different books, but that's the same authors, but and they all look the same book. Crucial Conversations, one of my favorite books. It explains how to handle it, how to talk to people. Next, how do we hire, train, and if necessary, exit someone from the team? How do we hire, train, and if necessary, exit someone from the team? Those are very important questions, guys. All of them. Number 4, scale factor. Number 4 is communications. Communication is easy when the team is small. You have a big announcement, just bring everyone in the same room. Want to adjust the strategy? Just everybody get together. We order pizza over lunch. We get a whiteboard. Here we go. We kick the idea around. Next thing you know, boom, we're here. But the number 1 culprit, he says, is a breakdown in communication when you hit 25 employees or more. Are you having too many meetings? Are you having too few? What are your meetings doing, and what is the mission? Is somebody just calling a meeting to call a meeting, or is there a real reason for the meeting? Is the meeting, and you'll learn this in the 12-week year when you read that book, it's very specific on how to do meetings. Is the meeting have a purpose to bring the goal forward? And can that person, before they have the meeting, justify that? Well, if we're going to have a meeting, I always want to know the person that wants to lead the meeting. I always ask them, how is this going to help our mission? How is this going to help our vision? And how is this going to make us better, each of us as a better person? If you can answer all three of those, then let's have a meeting. If you can't, well, then you need to just go on Slack or send an email out or something like that. Send a video out. Those are really great. If you can have somebody just hop on there, they can make a video real quick. Keep it 5 minutes and under. Have them tell them, keep it 5 minutes and under, send a video to the whole team. They can be like, hey guys, this is Jason. I've been thinking about this and I wanted to share this with the team. They can make a video real quick and send it out. It's a very easy thing to do. BombBomb is a great email video platform. If you guys haven't seen that, it's called BombBomb. BOMB. Look at your meetings. You're having too many, too few. And what the questions that he asks here, this is fire. So on communications, listen to these. What is most important right now? And is everyone on the team aware and aligned to these priorities? What is most important right now? And is everyone on the team aware and aligned to these priorities? This is huge, guys. I've seen so many people looking at this, and it's like right now. It's like right now, I could walk into most business and say, what's the most important thing right now? And it's going to be COVID related or something like that. But what is the most important thing right now? Is it to save the clients that we have? What do you think is the most important thing? And does each person on the team, if I walked in there and asked them, would they be aligned with you? What is the most important? And do you even know what the most important thing? Or are you just putting out a bunch of fires and making everything important? Is everyone aligned to these priorities? Find the most important thing, and then in that, make 3 priorities from that one most important thing, and then get together in a meeting, a whiteboard meeting, and have that. Next, does the team know how is the company doing? Have you been honest with them and shared how the company is going? How's it doing? Is it doing well? I hate business owners that hide everything from their employees. I hate business owners that make it like they're always doing bad so they don't have to get raises. Like everything is all shitty all the time. People see right through that. You're just being a miser, a stingy Scrooge. Let your employees know. Let them be a part of it. And it's dishonest. It's unethical. When somebody's making you money or when you're making money, not to share that with them as an owner. If they're doing a shitty job, then you just freaking fire them. I get that. If they don't deserve it, well, then maybe you need to let them go. But if you're making more money off of them because they're being more productive, then it's time to have a conversation with them. And you guys team together, be a part of. It doesn't always have to be about money. It can be about giving more responsibility and putting them in a role, and then maybe they get a little bit more because they're doing more responsibility. It doesn't just have to be giving somebody a $2 an hour raise or, a bonus or 20,000 or new commission structure, whatever it may be. Next, does the team know how is the company doing? Do they know what the goals are? And if we are making progress towards the goals, do they know that? What meetings do we run and how do we run them? Super important. What meetings do we run and how do we run them? You need to come up with, this is the only reason we have meetings. If you're in meetings all the freaking time, then you need to come up with this outline. Next, how do we use tools like email, Slack, and SMS? So, texting, email, Slack, all these things. If you guys haven't looked at Slack, like I said, none of these are my sponsor. These are all large companies. They're just great things. So instead of seeing 100 different emails, you can use Slack. It's great. You should look at that. And then scale factor number 5 is systems. Somebody says, I don't care how you get it done. Just get it done. We've all said that, right? But we need to care how it's done. We need to make processes and scalable systems. Because if you don't have a good system, you can't scale. You have to be able to have solid systems and process in place. Because if you don't, guess what's going to happen? It's going to crumble. It's just a matter of time. So here's some questions to help determine if your systems are scalable. How can we improve our output and efficiency? How can we improve our output and efficiency? Number 2, what are our company's critical processes and best practices? What are our company's critical processes and best practices? Next, how do we establish a culture of documentation and training? This is so huge, guys. I see, I just helped a company. They were wanting to go through coaching and then kind of get their managers on play to be able to coach properly, to be able to coach weekly, to be able to coach daily, 5 minutes, the coaching, you know how that goes, little huddles and stuff like that. So it's like, is this documented? Did they have a resource that's on each of their desktops that they can click on if they have a question and kind of know? Do they have the forms that they need to fill out every time they talk to somebody, if they're coaching with somebody? Because that documentation and that ability to be able to have training materials is going to allow them to be consistent. It's going to allow them to scale. Next, can our critical software and utilities scale with us to the next level? I've seen so many people try to be cheap on software, and then next thing you know, they're not able to scale that software, so they have to get a whole new software and it ends up costing them more. Find something that'll scale with you, even if it costs a little bit more. Scale factor number 6, money, cash flow. Cash is fuel. Run out of cash and your business stops. It's as simple as that, he says. In fact, if you think about it, there's only one rule in any business ever fails. It runs out of cash. Super simple. And he's so right about this. If cash is so important, why do few entrepreneurs talk about it? They always say accounting's boring, financial production budgets, blah, as long as we're making enough on the top line, cash is going to, drop to the bottom line by the end of the month and we're good to go. That's not true, though. I've heard people say, well, if I just have enough salespeople and they're out there and they're pushing the product, it'll all work out. You need to ask these questions, and these are cash questions, and you're not going to like these, but hey, this is super important. If a catastrophic event, hey, we just have one, occurred and sales dropped by 50%, how long could we stay in business? You need to answer that question. Do we have at least 90 days of operating expenses and savings and another 90 days available in lines of credit? So important. We're seeing this right now, guys. How do we decide how much to invest in customer acquisition, payroll, rent, and other major expenses? You may be able to knock your rent down now. A lot of people staying at home, working from home, loving that. Maybe you don't need that big office space anymore. You can get something extremely smaller. You can have a meeting room, a bathroom. Maybe you don't need that big showroom anymore. There's so many different opportunities out there right now. What is customer acquisition? Are you doing old school ways of marketing and you haven't really touched the digital marketing side of things, or you don't really know what's happening? You have this director of marketing, or you've dished the marketing off someone else and you have no idea what they're doing and what the ROI is. Customer acquisition, you should know. Payroll, look at that. What expenses? Is there certain positions you can combine? Can you pay one person a little bit more and have them do 2 jobs and get rid of one person? You got to look at all these major expenses, guys. Next, how do we distribute profits? How much should we hold back? It's a great question. When does it make sense to acquire an asset or a competitor? Maybe you have extra cash. Maybe a competitor's hurting. Maybe does it make sense to buy them out right now in this process with the loans and everything going on? And he says the key to creating a scalable company is to address all 6 of these constraints. And I want to, I'll do a little bit more. We're going on 30 minutes, so I don't want to do too much on this. He has a scalable flywheel, and maybe we'll do another podcast on that one, because I think by the time we get into that, and get into the different levels of the scalable flywheel, it's going to be too much time. So we'll get into that. But like I said, you can go to scalable.co. That's scalable.co. That's where I got this article. That's where I'm talking about. I always give credit to where credit is due. I'm not going to make it like I came up with this, because this dude is super smart. Love him. Always looked at everything he ever did. Sign up for their newsletter. It's Ryan Deiss, RyanDeiss. You'll see a lot of his articles and stuff like that. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. If you listen to this podcast, I encourage you to look at our Proud Partner page. We have some great partners. I vet every single one of them, and I talk about this all the time. Whenever I look at somebody coming and partnering with me, they're becoming a part of the Albuquerque family. And the money's not important to me at all. It's making sure that if I put my name to something and I turn around and tell you guys, this is a great company, go try them out, or listen to my podcast. This is amazing. If I do that, I want to know that you're going to have a great experience because I'm putting my name on it. It's an ethical thing for me. So whether I have 99.9 The B FM radio station, which is a not-for-profit minority-owned radio station here in Albuquerque, whether I have Well Life, we just brought on a new one, Well Life Albuquerque, a direct primary care partner where you can get primary care for $75 a month. And it's only $30 for each person in your family. And you can spend 30, 45 minutes an hour with a nurse practitioner and go over the issues that you have. It's amazing. Prescription drugs are $5, $10, $15, a lot of them. I encourage you to look at that. Well Life ABQ, whether it's Tartle, tartle.co, where you can sign up and actually get paid for your data. So if you're giving your data away for free, why not get paid for it? It's super cool. Or whether it's Quality Mazda, which is an amazing dealership with an amazing culture. They're product specialists. They don't have salespeople there. They're not going to pressure you. And if you haven't, I drive a Mazda CX-5. If you have not seen the Signature Series Mazdas, they are as nice as Lexus, Infiniti, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and they're about 20 grand cheaper, guys. Amazing cars, super durable. Look online. They win all the awards all the time. World Car of the Year, all kinds of awards. Car and Driver rated them #1. So if you, I love Mazdas. I mean, honestly, they are an amazing car. Look at the 2020, 2021 CX-5, the Mazda 6, CX-9 if you need a third row, and go to Quality Mazda. You will be shocked at the way that you're treated there. You will be happy to know that that dealership is one that actually cares about their customers. They've been there since 1957. Di Lorenzo family from Albuquerque here has owned it. And I have, it's just amazing to me to look at all these sponsors and to thank each and every one of them. And I appreciate it. And I hope you guys will support the podcast by supporting them, looking into them. And through all of that, guys, you will be the family that we all need to be together, because as a family, we can grow. And that's what this podcast is doing. But as a family, we can be honest with each other. You guys know I'm super honest all the time. With everything that I say, I've shared my weaknesses, my strengths, and we've gone and I'll ask, people that I have on the show. We get heavy into that, and it's cool, guys. It's super cool to have this, just this family feeling of knowing, that you can just be honest and be self-aware. Somebody asked me that the other day. They're like, "Well, what would be one word for your podcast?" And a lot of people would say, "Well, business or something." And it's like, no. I hope that people would become more self-aware, because self-awareness to me is the key to unlocking everything in our brain to allow us to get to the point to grow. That growing mindset as we're becoming more self-aware and realizing the things that we need to work on in our lives and then growing from that, so powerful. That's what the podcast is all about, guys. If you really want to know, that's what it's about. But I encourage you guys, tell others about this. Let's make the family bigger. Let's be positive. Let's be more self-aware. Let's subscribe, share, like. You can go to all the social medias. It's ABQ Jason Rigby. You can go to YouTube. We've got some videos on there. We just did a great one with Live ABQ. If you want to know more about why insurance companies for your business are ripping you off, you can go to YouTube, type in Jason Rigby, and you'll see that where how insurance companies are ripping you off and what direct primary care is. I'm talking to the founder, Casey, on that, which she has the clinics here in Albuquerque. So I encourage you, please help, please listen. If you get, you can leave a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please do that. Podcast. Like I said, I've had surgery on my jaw, so I'm going to give it a rest now. Gone 40 minutes. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Hope that each and every one of you have an amazing day today. Thanks.
Thank you for for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share.
And go to abqpodcast.com.
Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.